What are some good resources on learning how to determine? Oh, this is a great question. Yeah. If a stock is cheap or expensive, other than Rebel Capitalist Pro.
Just listen to George. Benjamin Graham's work, I think, is a must for everybody to read.
For sure. Intelligent Investor. Yeah.
Yeah. There's plenty other books.
Market Wizards books as well, Chris.
Yeah, like I said, I was going to say there's plenty books. I mean, literally, if you kind of go onto Amazon and you kind of you literally click the Intelligent Investor and it'll bring up like similar ones that are
suggested,
suggested and stuff. So that's kind of understanding equities in themselves as to like whether something's expensive or cheap. What I would suggest, and this is probably more important now than at any other time in my career, and it's a bit concerning, but it's also sort of exciting in a way. And what I mean by this is that if we look today, there's almost by any metric, equities are massively overvalued if you took Benjamin Graham's work into account and said, okay, well, this is what they should be. The thing to kind of get your head around is that part of the reason that is the case is because of these other exogenous factors, if you will. And what I mean by exogenous factors, I mean by those pointy shoes at the Federal Reserve who have distorted money supply growth and all these sorts of things. And so I think it's also very important to have a look at things in a contextual basis. So for example, have a look at so if you've got an understanding of what equity should look like in terms of price to book and all those normal stuff, if you've got that in your back of your head, and then take like entire sectors, because what you're going to find is that in one sector you're going to have a typical dispersion that's similar, right? You take all the tech stocks, they're all pretty expensive. You take all of the energy stocks, for example, on a relative basis, they're all dirt cheap. And so when you take these sectors and then lay them over each other, look at relative values, that I think can point you in the direction of where you should be looking in terms of sectors. Because once you got those sectors right, then you go, okay, well, now I'm going to use Benjamin Graham's work and I'm going to go and have a look and see what bloody makes sense and what doesn't make sense.
Right.
So I think that's
start with the macro, start with the trends in the sectors, and then get into the micro analysis from the bottoms up, as far as each individual company.
I think that makes, because look, I mean, I've got some buddies in the space who are like, there's a mate of mine who I worked with in prop trading back in, when was it, early 2000s. He was over at Deutsche and I was at Lehman, and he's a prop trader then, and since he left the business, and basically he got very, very involved in the tech space, and he understands that pretty well, but like he's had some really, really good times and then some really disastrous times. And really what it comes down to is that he's been very focused on the individuals, and he's not really looked at the overall sectors and what's sort of happening. Because like if you jump into a river and you're just going to get taken with the tide, right? You might go fast if you've got a better boat or whatever, but you pretty much go with the tide. And so you could pick like the best companies, really, really good companies, but if the whole overall sector is experiencing a downtrend because it's cyclical or whatever the case might be, it's tough. It's gonna make your life a little bit more difficult. It doesn't mean you won't be successful. It's just I'm kind of lazy. I'm much more interested in in positioning myself to be lucky.
Right.
So that's the other thing, I guess, that I'd look at. Start with Graham's book, and then start looking at what's cheap, what's expensive on a relative basis, and then trying to educate yourself as to why that might be. Because just because something's cheap doesn't mean it won't suddenly become expensive. It might stay cheap for years.
Right. Are you concerned with the future of the economy and how to position yourself financially? Right now, we're living in times when the Federal Reserve has printed trillions of currency units in the last few months alone. And the land of the free is requiring businesses to literally shut down and citizens not to leave their homes. I know, and you know, one thing is for sure, this does not end well. I'm sure you have the exact same concerns I do. Will you lose everything in a deflationary bust, rampant inflation, or will your purchasing power be completely destroyed in hyperinflation? Will the Fed-induced income inequality continue to get worse, leading to more rioting, looting, and instability? Or will the government just flat out ban cash and require you to use a government-backed digital currency? How do you protect and grow your wealth in this insane world of out-of-control central banks, big governments, and unfortunately, growing social unrest? My name is George Gammon. During the last crisis in 08-09, I saw firsthand on a personal level the devastation an economic collapse can have. Several people I knew lost absolutely everything they had. But you don't have to be a victim. You can take charge of your own financial future. I was fortunate to navigate 2008 as an entrepreneur. It was one of the hardest things I have done in my entire life. But I was able to take a crisis and turn it into opportunity. And I actually grew my business from 2010 to 2012. I retired in 2012. Since then, I've been investing. And I came up with a very simple framework for investing and speculating based on the strategies of people like Jim Rogers, Doug Casey, and Warren Buffett. This proven formula has produced returns of up to 800% in my own portfolio, and it's made me millions of dollars. And keep in mind, I'm someone that's never taken an econ class, I've never taken a finance class, and I almost flunked out of high school. Anybody can use this method successfully if they know what they're doing and they have the correct tools. Although it's simple, like so many things in life, it's not easy. And this is why I've teamed up with two of the top pros in the business, Alden and Chris MacIntosh, and we've created Rebel Capitalist Pro to help you understand these proven methods of investing while you're getting the intel, education, and support you need to ensure that you're able to build wealth and thrive regardless of what the future has in store. I would like to personally invite each and every one of you to join the Rebel Capitalist Pro community. Take the bull by the horns, take action, and do something today your future self will thank you for.